Creating organic feelings of death and dying. Experience dying from the point of view of the dying. Many actors see dying and death as a final giving up on life. The truth is that when someone is dying, that person grasps onto life like never before. Even the breath that a dying person takes is an attempt to desperately take in more air. Physiologically, when we are dying, our organs shut down, and the intensive struggle to get breath, which brings life-building oxygen, becomes impossible. It's sort of like trying to put gas in a broken engine. No matter how much fuel you attempt to get in, the engine still won't get the motor running, and for all intents and purposes, the car dies. Because breath brings oxygen, which feeds the body and keeps it alive, physicalizing the obstruction of breathing is where you want to begin when you are playing someone who is dying. After you truly feel that you are aching with the need for life-giving oxygen, then you would do the formula for creating organic fear. The reason you use the formula for creating organic fear when you're playing someone who is dying is because dying and fear are inextricably connected. In the same way that we struggle for physical life, via the need to breathe, we also struggle to keep our emotional lives. In other words, when we die, we don't want to give in to death, because we don't want to lose our emotional connections, so we voraciously fight to stay alive. There's usually one climactic emotional reason that will make you feel like you have to stay alive. Therefore, just like the fear list, you make up a dying list of your regret issues that you'd never be able to accomplish, resolve or take care of if your death were about to happen. In the same way you dealt with the fear list, you would explore and discover the particular regret issue from your dying list in advance of performance. Once you've figured out the best, most effective regret issue from your fear list, then you can duplicate the terrifying feeling of someone who is imminently dying by doing the following exercise. Formula for dying, from the point of view of the person dying. Create labored breathing by imagining a large rock on your chest and throat and attempting to breathe around the pressure of the excessive weight. Grapple to gain breath around the weight on your chest, throat and esophagus. It will sound gravelly and make you cough. Then struggle to gain back the air that the coughing let escape. Fight to breathe as you would fight for life. Once you really feel that you're desperately and agonizingly trying to get some air in your lungs to survive, do the previously described formula for creating organic fear. Taking the regret issue that you've previously chosen from your fear list, and see the upside of what you want to accomplish, resolve or take care of, happening in the most wonderful and vivid way. Exactly the way you'd always wanted and imagined it would be. Thoroughly enjoy it. Then imagine the worst that can happen if you were to die immediately and never get a chance to fulfill your need. Picture it in all its horrible details. Let the image fill you with anxiety. Then, with great angst, acknowledge the worst image is definitely going to happen if you die today, and internally do the survival mantra. I have to survive to keep this from happening. I have to survive to keep this from happening. I have to survive to keep this from happening. Continue the fight for breath and life, because so much depends on it. Let it go. Why does it work? Since you are fighting to live, instead of surrendering to death, it makes your work active and eventful and eventually cathartic. Fighting to live makes the dying feel real, because this is what we do. Our inherent survival instinct doesn't allow us to give in and give up. This formula infuses the dying process with passion and the human will to live. If you give up and let death take you, the audience will give up as well. Your specific needs, which will be revealed by your fight for life, will engage your audience. They will identify and root for you to overcome death. And when you don't, your audience will be moved. Experiencing death when a loved one is dying. Whenever someone we love is dying, our natural instinct is to deny their impending death and to try to keep them alive. We usually have unfinished business that needs closure, or that requires more time with this person. This is why you'd use the scene objective to keep you alive when you are playing a character who is experiencing the death of a loved one. This drives you to fight for their life, thereby furthering the goal that needs to be achieved, scene objective. If you were to just accept the loved one's death, there would be nothing to do and nowhere to go. Next, identify a substitution. Ask yourself, who is it that I need to keep alive? If someone that you are close to is very sick or dying, or has recently passed away, then it's easy. Use that person. However, if you are fortunate enough not to be dealing with sickness, dying or death in your present life, then ask yourself the question, the death of which person in my life would devastate me if he or she were to die today, because important issues would remain painfully unresolved. Choosing a relationship-fraught substitution adds a higher charge to your hypothetical situation. If someone that you feel is safe and loving dies, it will leave you feeling sad, but you won't have the extra inner turmoil that comes from unresolved issues. And if that person dies, it will be unresolved forever. This intensifies your passion to win your scene objective of to keep you alive, because if you fail, you'll be left with permanent emotional scars. Once you select your substitution, you must identify precisely what it is you will lose if that particular loved one dies. As with the fear of dying list, what you lose, regret and do not resolve must be significant and specific to your own life and relevant to your issues with your substitution choice. This gives you a very personal and emotionally charged reason to fight to keep that person alive. Generalities are hard for our brains and hearts to latch onto. It's always specific, intimate information that makes us think and feel. The truth is that when someone you love is dying, there's usually a momentous reason why we feel that person must stay alive. As with the fear list, identify the specific issue that needs to be accomplished, resolved or taken care of before your choice of substitution dies. Make a list. In your handwritten list, state at least 10 regret issues that are relevant to your substitution. Sample loved one is dying list. Think, if you die today, I'll never know what you could have become or achieved. You'll never know what I could have become or achieved. I'll never know if you were ever proud of me. I'll never know if you loved me. I'll never resolve and understand why you abandoned me. I'll never resolve and understand why you abused me. I'll never know if you forgave me for what I did to you. You'll never see me happy and in love. You'll never meet your grandchild, if you're using a parent as substitution. You'll go to your grave thinking I'm a loser. You won't be there to love and take care of me. I'll be all alone. I'll never hear you say the words I love you. You'll never know how much I love you. I'll never know if you're sorry for what you did to me. I'll never know if you forgive me for not being able to protect and save you, if you're using your child as a substitution. As with the lists in the previous exercises, evaluate which regret is the strongest by reading each one aloud and feeling which one emotionally pulls at you the most. If more than one feels viable, try all of your final contenders and evaluate which one affects you the most. Always identify in advance which substitution, as well as which issue from your loved one's dying list you'll be using to exemplify your need to keep your substitution alive. Formula for organically feeling a loved one's impending death. Think of your substitution as dying, then use the issue from your list that will never be resolved, accomplished, or taken care of if the person were to die right now. Now close your eyes and picture the accomplishment, or resolution, as you would most like to see it come to pass if that person were to stay alive. For example, if I need you to say I love you before you die is your regret issue, see and hear the dying loved one say I love you with great emotion in your mind's eye, precisely the way you'd always wanted it to happen. Open your eyes and see your substitution die before you can get what you want, as per the example, death before the loved one can say I love you, and feel the desperation and disappointment of never hearing those words, or having resolution with your selected regret issue. Attempt to keep your substitution alive with sounds and behavior as you imagine the worst event if death were to happen and recite this mantra over and over in your head. I have to keep you alive to keep that from happening. I have to keep you alive to keep that from happening. Let it go. You'll be surprised by the emotions that surge out of you. They will not necessarily be what you expect. How we really respond to a loved one when they are dying is always different than how we imagine it will happen. And the only way to have real, spontaneous and present feelings is to put yourself in a similar predicament by using the formula. Experiencing the dying of a loved one that is highly unexpected and happens quickly. You are driving, hit black ice, spin out of control, hit a telephone pole, your best friend, who is in the passenger seat, gets thrown through the windshield, you get pinned to the steering wheel and must watch her die. You witness your child being shot in a drive-by shooting. While you are working at the local convenience store, you see your friend and co-worker get stabbed. Your home is invaded and you're forced to watch your wife be raped and stabbed. These are examples of unexpected, out-of-the-blue circumstances of dying. Because your brain doesn't have time to react and your emotions don't have time to percolate, these particular life and death situations provoke different internal, instinctual reactions. Here is a formula that triggers the feelings that come from unexpected traumatic deaths. See your substitution in an open coffin. Look at the face, lifeless, for the last time. Memorize the face, because this is the last time you'll ever see your substitution, and say in your mind, goodbye. I love you and I'll miss you. Taking the specific issue you're using from your loved one is dying list. Know now that you'll never accomplish, resolve and take care of it and feel the finality of the loss. Then see the coffin lid slowly close over your loved one's face, enveloping your substitution with ultimate darkness. Forever. See the coffin dropping slowly into the 6-foot dirt hole. Watch dirt fill the hole, surrounding the coffin with cold, dark, suffocating, heavy and hopeless finality. Then, feel the need to keep the coffin image from happening by keeping your substitution alive. In your head, say over and over to your substitution, you've got to survive to keep that from happening, you've got to survive to keep that from happening. Let it go. Then launch into the scene. Experiencing the actual death of a loved one. If you are at a funeral, or some venue where a loved one is long past saving, you still must make active choices that further your story. Death may have stopped your character's loved one, but it shouldn't stop your character. There's always something to be learned from the loss, as well as revelations and change that occurs from the pain. Formula for feeling the actual death of a loved one. Close your eyes and picture your substitution in an open coffin. See the lifeless face for the last time. Memorize their face, because this is the last time you'll ever see him or her. Say in your mind, goodbye. I'll miss you. I love you. And know this is it, forever. Watch the coffin lid slowly close over the face. Imagine the coffin filling with darkness. See the coffin dropping slowly into the 6-foot dirt hole. Watch the dirt fill the hole, enveloping the coffin with cold, dark, suffocating, heavy and hopeless finality. Take the issue that you've chosen from your loved one is dying list that, because of your substitution's death, will never be accomplished, resolved or taken care of, and mull over what you could and should have done differently in your life that would have kept it from happening. Resolve to fix that issue in the future with an appropriate person in your present life who is still alive. Let it go. This way of looking at death allows for the tragedy of death to promote growth, change and hope in your character's future, which gives your audience hope that there is a conceivable chance for growth and change within their own lives. Looking at death, one of life's inevitabilities, and the horrible pain that accompanies it as a way to inspire growth, and change enables your audience to grow and learn from it, too.